A death sentence in the stars. The Xylosians didn't invade with fire, they invaded with a clock. Their Seer, a biomechanical entity capable of processing trillion-point probability vectors, had calculated the exact moment the Republic of Terra would cease to exist. According to the Great Equation, Earth was a footnote, a flickering candle in a hurricane. We were supposed to be extinct by midnight. But when the Xylosian fleet arrived at the edge of our atmosphere, they didn't find a dying world. They found men and women who had turned their bodies into living weapons. In the obsidian halls of the Xylosian flagship, the Eventuality, the Seer hummed with the soft glow of 1,000 dying suns. It did not guess, it knew. Its prophecies were built on the cold, hard laws of physics and the predictable decay of biological civilizations. "The Terrans are fragile," the Seer's voice echoed through the minds of the High Command. "Their muscles are bound by planetary gravity. Their spirits are limited by the fear of their own mortality. By the time the third moon rises, their defense grid will collapse. Total subjugation is 99.9% certain." For the Xylosians, war was a formality. They had wiped out civilizations across 3 sectors based on the Seer's calculations. They expected a surrender. They expected tears. Instead, they found the vanguard of the iron sky. Down on the surface, Sergeant Elias Thorne didn't care about prophecies. He cared about the 400-pound pressurized suit he was currently deadlifting in a subterranean bunker. The Republic had known the end was coming, but rather than building bigger walls, they had invested in the Lift Initiative. If the aliens thought humans were weak, we would become the strongest things in the known universe. 20 more, Thorne," the automated trainer barked. Elias's teeth were gritted so hard he thought they might shatter. His veins looked like corded steel under his skin. This wasn't just exercise, it was evolution through sheer spite. Around him, 300 other lifters, soldiers selected for their high bone density and psychological stubbornness, were doing the same. They weren't just training for a fight, they were training to survive a gravitational weapon that the Seer predicted would crush every bone in the human body. The sky didn't turn red, it turned heavy. The Xylosians deployed the G-anchor, a device that increased Earth's local gravity tenfold. The plan was simple. The humans would be pinned to the ground, their hearts failing as they tried to pump blood against the crushing weight. In the command centers, generals collapsed. Civilians fell to their knees, unable to breathe. The Seer watched the data stream, satisfied. The prophecy was unfolding. The extinction event had begun. Then a blip appeared on the Xylosian scanners. "High Command," the Seer's monotone voice wavered for the first time in an eon. "There is an anomaly. Movement detected in Sector 7. "Movement? Impossible," replied the sub-commander. "At 10 gravities, biological tissue liquefies." "They are not liquefying," the Seer pulsed a deep, concerned violet. "They are standing up." The G-anchor's field was a physical wall of invisible force. To a normal human, the air now felt like liquid lead. Every breath required the effort of a marathon. Every heartbeat was a struggle against a vacuum. But in the bunkers of the Vanguard, the kinetic exoskeletal dampeners hissed to life. Elias Thorne felt the weight. God, he felt it. It felt like having a mountain strapped to his shoulders. But the months of hyper-G training hadn't just built muscle. They had increased his bone density to that of reinforced concrete. His blood had been enriched with synthetic oxygen carriers designed to function under extreme atmospheric pressure. "Vanguard units, report," Elias rasped into his comms. The words felt heavy, leaving his throat. "Unit 2, standing. Unit 5, mobile. It's heavy, Sarge, like walking through wet cement." "Adjust your stabilizers," Elias commanded, his boots cracking the reinforced floor as he took a step. "The Seer thinks we're pinned. Let's show that calculator what happens when you round down the wrong variable." Aboard the Eventuality, the Seer was experiencing something it hadn't in 5,000 years: static.
Its probability streams, once smooth and golden, were now flickering red. The end of humanity timeline was shifting. The 99.9% certainty had dropped to 94%, then 88%. Explain this, the Xylosian High Commander demanded, his four eyes fixed on the heat signatures rising from the Earth's surface. They are moving at 10G. No biological heart can sustain that. The data suggests willful atmospheric rejection, the Seer hummed as its processors churned at maximum capacity. They are using a combination of hydraulic augmentation and concentrated muscular hypertrophy. They are lifting the weight of our weapon. On the screens, they watched as the Terran soldiers didn't just crawl, they broke into a slow, rhythmic jog toward the anchor pods. The Xylosian ground drones were deployed to finish the crushed survivors. These drones were sleek, multi-legged machines designed for low-gravity agility, but under the 10G field they themselves had generated, they were clumsy. Elias saw the first wave of drones cresting the hill near the Nevada anchor site. He didn't reach for a long-range rifle. In this gravity, a bullet's trajectory would drop within 50 yards. "Melee protocols," Elias shouted. He unsheathed a vibromaul, a weapon that weighed nearly 200 pounds on its own. In this field, it felt like a ton. He swung it not with his arms, but with his entire core, utilizing the very gravity that the Xylosians had provided to add momentum to the strike. The maul connected with the lead drone, shattering its titanium chassis like glass. The impact sent a shockwave through the ground that Elias felt in his marrow. "The Seer predicted we'd die on our knees. I think I'll stand instead," Elias roared, the external speakers of his suit booming across the desolate plains. One by one, the lifters reached the anchor pylons. These were massive, humming towers of obsidian light. The Seer's logic dictated that no human could survive the radiation or the pressure near the base. But the lifters weren't just soldiers, they were the Republic's final weight class. They gripped the base of the pylon. "On my mark," Elias signaled. "We don't deactivate it, we rip it out of the ground." The Seer's probability display hit 50%, a coin flip. The High Commander watched in horror as 300 humans glowing with the heat of overexertion and suit friction gripped the Xylosian technology. They weren't using hackers, they weren't using explosives, they were using leverage. The sound was like the Earth itself screaming. The G-anchor, rooted deep into the tectonic plate, began to tilt. The soldiers' suits groaned, hydraulic fluid leaking from overstressed joints, but they did not let go. "They are lifting the prophecy," the Seer whispered, as its core began to overheat. "They are moving the immovable." With a final gargantuan heave, the Nevada anchor snapped. The 10G field flickered and died. Suddenly, the weight was gone. The transition from 10G to 1G was like being shot out of a cannon. Elias and his men didn't collapse from the relief. They looked up. "Gravity's back to normal, boys," Elias said, his voice now clear and terrifyingly calm. "Target the fleet. It's our turn to bring the weight down on them." The moment the G-anchor snapped, the tactical advantage shifted with a violent kinetic snap. To the Xylosians, Earth was a trapped bird in a cage of gravity. Now the cage was open, and the bird had iron talons. "Prophecy status?" the High Commander barked, his voice trembling. The Seer's central eye was flickering a frantic, chaotic red. "The end has been delayed. Probability of Terran extinction 12%. Probability of Xylosian retreat 84%. They are launching." From the hidden silos across the shattered crust of the Earth, the relativity spears ignited. These weren't standard missiles, they were massive tungsten rods designed to be fired from the surface into orbit. Under normal circumstances, the energy required to launch them was immense, but the lifters had used the G-anchor's residual energy, a slingshot effect created by the sudden collapse of the heavy field, to catapult the projectiles. Elias Thorne watched from the ground as the streaks of white light tore through the atmosphere. "If they want to play with gravity, let's show them how we drop the hammer," he muttered, wiping blood from his nose. Inside the Xylosian flagship, the Seer was dying, not from a virus, but from a paradox. Its entire existence was predicated on the predictability of the universe. It had accounted for human technology, human politics, and human biology. It had not accounted for grit. The Seer began to process the soldiers' biometric data, the cortisol levels, the lactic acid buildup, the micro tears in their muscle fibers. In its logic, these were signs of failure, but the humans were using those failures as fuel. I do not understand, the Seer pulsed. They are operating at 400% capacity, despite catastrophic physical damage. This violates the second law of thermodynamics. They are creating energy from sheer defiance. Recalculate, the commander screamed as a tungsten spear punched through the ship's secondary hull, venting